Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 220. And man, I know this one's cerebral palsy, but I think it's important that I pivot a little bit and I talk about other things that are just as important to me as cerebral palsy is. Right? Don't get me wrong, cerebral palsy is a wealth of information. Whereas why do boys predominantly get CP more, diagnosed with CP more often than girls, especially while they're young, why do black babies get diagnosed with CP? So, and there's a lot of shit that happens with that too. Then you have to think about the federal laws, how DEI, inclusion, all this other shit, right? And it's so political nowadays, right? Um, and it's crazy to me when I sit back and I think about it because that's some good coffee. Um, you sit back and you think about it, you're like, yo, like this is wild. With everything going on in the political arenas, with them cutting DOE funding and everything like that as well. Um, also DEI, it's like is um if I didn't have a college degree, if I didn't have the opportunities I had to go to school and get everything paid for through the federal government, just because I have you know, a disability, that to me is amazing. The fact that they paid all my whole undergrad, you know, I was I was able to walk away with the degree from the University of Hawaii at Manoa for free, and it was all because of funding, federal funding. It's all because of inclusion. It's everything, man. So it's like, and what's wild to me is like people don't understand that when you elect somebody like Trump and he tells you, "Oh, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z," and then this motherfucker goes off and does X, Y, and Z, it's like he literally told you what he was gonna do. He literally told you he was gonna, you know, deport immigrants, and everything else. It's like I remember when they did the ice raids and I live in Hawaii, and they rounded up 1,200 people, 1,200 immigrants in Hawaii, and none of these motherfuckers had criminal records. So what's that tell you? That they were just rounding up immigrants simply because they can. And a lot of these immigrants, man, is like that I know. They're some of the most hardest working people that I know. It's like a lot of these cats have 2, 3 jobs and they just busting their ass. They're just really really good people. They just really want to make it, and it's like, and their only knock on them is that they were born in a different country and they can't speak English that well. You know, but let's get that thing straight, man, because it's like um unless you Native American, dog, it's like, bro, we all immigrants. You know what I mean? So it's like, it just makes me sit back and think how stupid some people really are, man. It makes me sit back and think how dumb some people really are. Yeah. And that's what that is, bro. Because it's like, I think at the end of the day, um, everybody has a gift. Everybody has tools that in their toolbox that they can show you. And like I say, some of the most smartest people that I know, some of the most hardest working people that I know are immigrants. Hell, my family, you know, my grandfather was an immigrant. My great grandfather, my great grandmother, on both sides were immigrants, bro. You know, and that's on my mother's side. So it was like, and then you throw in my dad, who's African American. I got the bloodline of former slaves and immigrants running through my blood, bro. What's it look like me giving up? Not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. You know? And I think that's important, man. I think because everything that cerebral palsy represents, bro, it's always about inclusion. It's always about finding, you know, finding out, to do the research, to stop kids from having, being diagnosed with cerebral palsy, to stop the misinformation out there, because it's not a disease, dog. It's not something that that gets better. Um, my twin brother, God rest his soul, he has cerebral palsy too. He um he had a more severe version than what I had, but I never once in all my 35 years of knowing him, I never once saw him ever complain, man. It's like that dude would help you out any which way he could, bro. I remember when we was in college, and one of his partners from high school played football for UH, and him, my brother and him were talking one day, and this is right before the NFL draft, right? So he was short on funds to get to his pro day, which was in California. My brother said, "Yo, how much you need?" And friend's like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, how much you need, dog?" And he's like, "Well, boom, 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 boom. I need this much." My brother gave it to him. And now his friend never took it. But the fact is that my brother actually gave him his hard-earned money. He's like, "Yo, like, go chase your dreams, dog." That's what he told him. He's like, "Go chase your dreams. I believe in you." Now, most people would be like, "Damn, that's really fucked up. Hope you figure that out." But my brother's like, "Nah, I got you." And I look back on that, man, and it's like, and me and him in the same way, you know. If I tell my friends I got you, unless something catastrophic happens, I got you. You know, I've paid for meals, part of plane tickets. I've done X, Y, and Z for people, man. It's like I never once sat there and be like, "Oh, what?" and throw it in their face like, "Well, I did X, Y, and Z." You know, because for me, it's like that's not the type of person that I am, man. It's like I'm not gonna sit there and count favors. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, "Yeah, boom, 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 yada, yada, yada." No, if I want to do something, it's because I'm rocking with you, because I believe in your ass, man. I believe in your goofy self, even if you don't believe in yourself. And part of it, I think, has to stem from my upbringing. And my parents were really good people, and you know, my dad was probably the hardest worker that I ever knew. Other than my grandfather, those two men is like, when I say hardest working, like, I swear to God, bro, it's like you dealing with a Spaniard and you dealing with an African American male, and it's like some like two of the most hard nosed motherfuckers I ever met in my life. And that's what it was, man. I think, that's where I get it from. It's like that's why it's like I'm so intense in the gym, and that's why like I'm so intense in the studio. It's like I don't know nothing else but how to work hard, bro. I don't know what it's like to have shit given to me. I don't know what it's like to have things handed to me. And it's like I don't. I mean, other than like certain things and whatnot, it's like I've had to work for everything that I got. I've had to work for everything that I have, because it's important, that you do so. Because if you're given everything, you don't know how to handle everything. Because and I was having a conversation with somebody last night, and I said, look, I was like, if you're given everything, that means you don't know how to work for it. And that's the difference between dealing with somebody who's worked for everything and dealing with somebody who's been handed everything. And I think a lot of these kids nowadays, they're handed a lot of shit. They don't know what it's like to work for minimum wage, making $6 an hour, thinking $200 every 2 weeks is a lot of money. You know what I mean? Back to a 15, 16-year-old kid. Yeah, that is a lot of bread. Like they don't know what it's like to pinch money and save and do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, now I just look at things like, okay, I get it, I understand it, because I have the experience behind it, right? And I remember once my dad was teaching me about finances, and he was like, so he come in the room one Saturday morning, be like, hey man, he's like, why you taking $100? How you know, Pop? This is before I knew bank statements were sent to your house, right? And I was like, oh, me and the boys went out, and so I just wanted some money on me. He's like, all right, bet. He's like, but he's like, hey, next time that you, instead of it being the amount that you took out, you know, I don't think you need that much money because all y'all did was go to the movies, right? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, bet. But he was teaching me how to be responsible, man. He was teaching me how to understand how money works, right? And I think a lot of the times people will sit there and they won't know what it's like, to work for something because it's like they were never taught that, and it's like when I check up on some of my brother's friends and whatnot, we all have a saying like, hey man, we surviving day by, week by week, day by day. And it's like, I disagree with that, man, because surviving means that we just getting through. Every day we get that we get a chance to go outside and touch some grass and breathe some air in our lungs, we winning. It doesn't matter how much money we have in a bank account. It doesn't matter what type of clothes we got on. It doesn't matter what type of shoes we got on. It's like the end of the day, as long as we can go to bed, clean clothes, food in the fridge. Overall, it's being decent human beings, right? And as long as we can get up every morning and wake up, like we may not love the alarm, but yo, every day above ground is a good day. And that's what it is, man. I think a lot of the times people they will take for granted what they have, man. And it's like, yo, you don't know what you have till it's gone. And I sit down and think about my brother and all the things he probably wish he wanted to do, which I know for a fact. I've never seen a guy love sports as much as he did. I never ever complained that he couldn't play. I remember when we was in high school, he had petitioned the football coach to be a team manager, and the football coach said, he's like, hey bro, I get it, but it's obviously a safety issue too, because if somebody runs into you, and they get hurt, you get hurt, we're held liable. What it's like, my brother made a lasting impact on everybody that he met, man. And it sucks that he's not here, because there's some days it's like, when I want to crash out, when I want to get angry, when I want to get upset, he'll pop into my head, and he'll be like, bro, we're not doing that today. Like, no, no, bro. It's like, we gonna chill out. It's like, that he simply would tell me, like, yo, people need you, dog. It's like, you can't be crashing out. I remember when there was an incident that happened where I ended up in the hospital, and our brother came in. He was joking with me too and everything, and he said, dog, yo, I understand you moving this way, moving that way, but my boy, I need you. I was like, what? He's like, dog, I need you. He's like, I can't. He's like, we've already lost Pops. I ain't trying to lose you too. And it didn't dawn on me, that I knew people were counting on me, but it's the fact that he told me, he's like, dog, I need you. What he was telling me is like, understand that you're important, understand that you need it, understand that you want it. And you can't do nothing for a motherfucker when you're 6 feet deep. And it just made me think, and it just made me have a different perspective, because it's true. A lot of the times people will sit there and not realize how important they are. And when you don't do that, and you don't understand the impact that you have on people, man, you tend to take things for granted, right? I remember the day of my brother's funeral. I've never seen that many people in a room that big. It was like over probably at least a couple hundred people, right? Um, I've never seen a guy who every single life that he touched, it was a positive. It was a positive thing. Nobody had nothing bad to say about my brother. Nobody, and even the cats who, and even I remember this one brother. My brother used to go to this this program about adults with disabilities, right? And a couple times a week. And so there's one sister, they black, and so I can't remember the brother's name for the life of me. I sure got his phone number too, but I just it slipped my mind. So the sister, what as black folk, we gonna look out for each other, right? That's what we do. It don't matter where the fuck we at. It's like we just gonna be like, bro, you good? You straight? You know what I mean? Like niggas could be a complete stranger to each other, but it is like it's an unwritten rule, bro. That's what we do. Anyway, so they come to the funeral, and my mother's introducing me to to the lady that went through the program with my brother, and so she's telling me and everything too, and her brother was with her as well, and her brother actually apologized to me, bro. He was like, he said, "Hey man, like I didn't know that your brother was such a positive influence on people, man, and I'm so sorry for how I treated him. I should have treated him better." I was like, "Yeah, dog, you should have. I appreciate the apology, and as you can see, my brother was a solid individual, you know. I mean, for the most part, like you gonna make mistakes, you gonna rub people the wrong way, but it's like my brother always saw the good in people, man. It's like, you know, he used to always tell me like, dog, you like you can't give up on so and so, you know. I don't care how many times they fuck up, like they still good people. And I sit there and I think about shit like that. I sit there and be like, yeah, like, alright, bro, it's like, yeah, alright, not really thinking nothing of it. And that's what it is, man. It's like I look back at my brother and I think about certain things and all the lives that he touched, and everybody who knew him from when we was in grade school to college and into adulthood, bro. It was just something that when I say my brother was my best friend, I legitimately mean that. And I think very few people can say that, man. It's like that their brother was, their sibling was their best friend. And I'm not saying it, just to say it. It's like, no, he was, man. It's like there was certain things that I was doing to set him up just in case I went first. And it's like, now I'm like, okay, like, what do I do? How do I move with this? How do I handle this? And and that's just where I'm at, man. Because it's like I think when you don't understand the impact that people have on that a person has on everybody else until they're gone. I'm not saying that I didn't, but my brother was a bright light that everybody didn't know that they needed, but they had it. That's the type of cat that he was, man. It's like that's the type of cat that, I used to joke with my mom all the time. I was like, hey man, I was like, Mama, you lucky he's not ambulatory because you have about 4 or 5 kids. But in reality, it's like, um, if my brother ever did become a dad, man, he probably raised some of the most upstanding human beings ever. You know, I think about that, and I think about me having kids. And it's like, it's just something that crosses my mind. Like, oh, like yo, even though we came from this situation, um, from an emotionally abusive household, you know, sometimes the most chaotic situations come from, they birth some of the most you know empathetic people. And it's the truth, man, because it's like, you don't want people to go through the same thing you went through. You don't want people to go through the same heartache that you went through. And once you figure that out, okay, bet this is what it is, let me move this way, let me move that way, or let me figure that out this way. um because you can't be so rigid, and you can't be so so set in your ways. I had somebody tell me the other day, like, I miss my safe space. And I was like, okay, if you miss your safe space, come get it. And they were like, what? Like, yeah, if you miss me that much, come get me. I'm not saying that I'm gonna make it difficult for you, but when you calling, when you texting, when you trying to do a temperature check, and mind you, this person trying to move, he's trying to use they're trying to use all my moves on me, so I know what's going on, right? And I said, yo, if you miss me, come get me. That's what it is. And I think that's imperative, man. It's like, you have to let it know that people are important to you, because if you don't want to be in the church talking about them at their service, but all the shit that you wish you would have said to them while they were alive, man. And that is the most important thing, because people deserve to have their flowers while they can still smell them. I'm gonna say it again. People deserve to have their flowers while they can still smell them. Alright, y'all. It's about 23 minutes of your life that y'all won't get back. Hope y'all keeping the 4Ps. Private player positive pushing. I'll see y'all next week. Love y'all. Ghost, and like I always say, know your worth, because you're better than what you are. Peace. Alright, y'all have a beautiful Sunday. I'm out.